Since China seized control of the land they live on, Tibetans have complained that their religious freedom and traditional way of life are being actively curtailed. Now it appears the situation is getting worse. There's evidence that Beijing is forcing hundreds of thousands of Tibetans off their land and into so-called vocational training centres that are set to resemble labour camps. Traditional farmers and herders are being turned into factory workers and other low-paid labour, and made to relocate to other parts of China. Those are the findings of a report by a US-based research institute. Findings China's governor in Tibet denies. There are no forced labour transfers. As the party secretary and I explained just now, people have a strong desire to travel for work. And people have a strong desire to learn new skills. The government has followed their wishes and needs. But the information gathered by the Jamestown Foundation tells a different story. It says rural Tibetans are coerced into militarized training regimens in facilities like this one, and subjected to, quote, thought transformation, patriotic and legal education, and Chinese language teaching. It's aspects like these that are causing comparisons to Xinjiang province, where Beijing is accused of indoctrinating ethnic Uighurs in so-called re-education camps. There's no evidence that Tibetans are facing the same level of persecution as the Uighurs, but the international community is taking note. On October 14th, Washington appointed a new coordinator for Tibetan issues and had a message for Beijing.
One of the core challenges that we've identified from the Chinese Communist Party, they're a consistent violation of the most basic and fundamental human rights for their own people, whether it's Xinjiang, what's taking place there, whether it's Tibet. We talked about that a little bit here this morning. We'll work hard to do everything we can to build out a coalition all across the world that comes to understand how important that is alongside of us and works to impose costs on the Chinese Communist Party when they act in ways that are inconsistent with those basic fundamental human freedoms.
Beijing's answer: the US should mind its own business. The establishment of the so-called Special Coordinator for Tibetan Issues by the US is totally out of political manipulation, aiming to interfere in China's internal affairs and undermine the development and stability of Tibet. China has always opposed this position and has never recognized it. Tibet's government has said that some 15% of the region's population have received vocational training in just 7 months. And the program is ongoing. Rights groups worry that with every person that's enrolled, Tibetan culture is being further eroded.
Joining us is Kate Saunders, a specialist and writer on Tibet. Kate, the report documenting this just came out, but I know you've monitored what's been happening in Tibet for years. What have been some of your own findings?
Yes, this report gave a very important indication of the very rapid social economic transformations taking place in Tibet. And what we've found is that this combination of intensified securitization and militarization before Xinjiang came Tibet, in which a dystopian police state was set up, in which emerging from China's economic and strategic objectives on Tibet, and with the ultimate aim of, as an official document put it, breaking connections, breaking lineage, breaking roots. And what we found is that this goes beyond the superficial measures now. So Tibetan Buddhism and loyalty to the Dalai Lama runs very deep in Tibetan people. And so the measures need to go very deep too. So we've seen the party using a new language, a new focus on ideological control, and focusing really on obliterating collective memory of what it is to be Tibetan, right, erasing the Dalai Lama's influence. This further emphasis on sinicization. And even while we may not understand fully what Sinicization means, it's linked to the objective of creating compliant citizens in Tibet, and with a focus on not only the empty recitation of party slogans, but really the emotional buy-in of Tibetans to an ideological remolding or rewiring, which is very dangerous, of course.
Right. You mentioned that it's a police state. I'm curious, what is different this time? Do you think that there's going to be an expansion in Tibet of what has taken place in Xinjiang with the detention camps? Is there a more systemic thing that they're going to try to import into Tibet this time?
It's very different in that we haven't monitored the same mass internment that has been seen in Xinjiang. But although there has been a large-scale expansion of prisons, and we've noticed the deeper institutionalization of this ideological agenda with the construction of new party-building facilities. And as in Zentz's research, these seem to be centered on a military-style training in many cases, and also in taking Tibetans off their land. So this is linked to a drive that we've seen since 1999-2000 under the so-called Western Development Campaign, in which tens of thousands, possibly millions of Tibetan nomads and herders have lost their traditional livelihoods. And there's been a whole program of mass urbanization. And this is one of the elements that is most important in the latest research, because Tibetans are being removed from their land, linked to these massive social engineering policies that we've seen over the years.
Right. That appears to be China's end game. Kate Saunders, thank you.